Hi, I'm Colleen and welcome to episode 7 of Whispers from the Countryside. This week we're showing you the huge hole we've got in our wall. We're giving you a summary of the living room renovation from 2016 up until now. We're showing you some crazy time-lapse video of some storm clouds and showing you the usual cat antics. So if you love countryside stories, barn renovation and animals, you're in the right place. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Remember, each episode has timestamps which you can find below in the description. So if there's a particular area that you want to jump to, you can just click on that timestamp and go directly there. So settle back, grab a cuppa, and let's start with the first story.
Hai foto tous les côtés.
There we go. Oh, you can see all the lining and...
Yep. Damp-proof. Yeah, I see that lintel's on nothing.
So this is the end of day 3. So unfortunately they have had to cover it because we are expecting a day of torrential rain tomorrow and we have a bloody great big hole in the wall. So just to recap, the first day they made this big hole at the top. Let's go back a bit. They made the big hole at the top so that they could cut and install 4 massive great beams that provide the support. There you can see them all. So that was the first day. The second day was then actually pulling out all the stone and creating the hole. And today they have been cutting stone and making the edges, let's just step in here without knocking things over, making the edges look nice. So they've still got this bit at the top here to do, and the same on the other side, but it's looking pretty damn fine. So now you know all about the hole in the wall. Let's take you through to the living room and I can give you an update there. So before we launch into the living room story, it's important to understand the difference between the 2 openings. And I've done this little picture here so that you can see the difference between the 2 windows. The one we will refer to as living room window south, and the other one living room window east. I've also done this ground floor plan so that you can see how the ground floor is laid out, and you can see the 2 labels for the living room windows here as well. Are you ready? Let's get started. Living room window east when we first bought it. Living room window east now. Living room window east from a different angle when we bought it. That same angle now. East and south windows when we first bought it. Note the dirt floor. And that same angle now. No dirt floor. ceiling above the east window when we first bought it, and ceiling above the east window now. Back in 2018, we dug out all the dirt, and unfortunately we discovered bedrock, which meant only one solution. We had to hire a massive jackhammer, and painstakingly John had to dig out all the rock in that wing. It was a monstrous job, and he actually hurt his back in the process. I remember he was out of action for about 2 weeks. It was really a huge job. Why did we have to dig it all out? Why didn't we just lay concrete over the top? Well, we wanted damp-proof membrane and insulation, and we had to also provide a proper surface for the underfloor heating to go on. So you can see John here measuring to make sure we've dug down deep enough. Finally all dug out, and you won't believe how much we took out. Here is the pile of rock, which I believe is still in our garden somewhere. I couldn't find a picture, but first we laid the damp-proof membrane, then we laid the gravel, which you can see there as the white on the right of the picture, and then we started to lay the sand. Here the sand is all smoothed out, and the next step was the insulation, and here's the insulation chunks, and you can see we had some feline help. Here is the underfloor heating pipes, which are now laid and ready to rock and roll. And then comes the best bit. Here you can see the guy putting out the levels to make sure that when they pour the concrete it's nice and level. Finally the lorry arrived with its precious load. There were two gents. They spent really only just a couple of hours with us. One kind of fielding and the other pouring. And what a difference it made. Look at that. We had to wait 3 days before we could walk on it, and we had to block all the entranceways into the barn so that the cats didn't get in and get themselves stuck. Next step was installing the windows, and I remember that living room south window was the very first window we installed. So it was extra special really, it looks fabulous. But because this opening was going from being what was a barn door to a window, we had to block the area underneath the window with concrete blocks and wood and newspaper and everything until we were ready to actually build the wall, which was done a few years later. We are already now up to 2023, and the next step was to point all the stones inside the living room. There were such huge openings that some of them would blow out a candle if you held a candle in front of them, and we had to block those up to stop the cold air from coming inside the building. And just for many years that area was just used as storage. It was the biggest area that we had, and we just had all John's tools. We had our wood storage, we stored our furniture and everything in there. But then came the time for us to empty everything out after we built the woodshed, and we could put all our furniture outside in the woodshed, and we could empty the room so that we could start working on this room. The first thing we did was build a partition wall between the living room, which is this room that you see in this photo, and the room beyond, which is the room where the hole in the wall is. And then John plasterboarded the wall you can see on the right here, because that's going to be the wall where the television is. Entrance from the library into the living room. That's going to be the wall with the TV and the media center. The wood burner in the corner. And then all the sofas and stuff in the rest of the room. And back to the entrance.
First coat's always a rough one.
So John's focus lately has been on this living room, and it's very exciting because not only has he finished the second layer of sealing the ceiling, he's also managed to render this whole wall behind me. So you can see the white patches where it's already drying, and if I come around here, this wall you can see is already drying. It's really exciting. It's the first layer is always a rough layer. He gets his very fine finish using the plaster. It's a lot more versatile. The render's still quite rough. It's also cheaper than the plaster. So what we do is we build up enough of a layer with the render and then put the plaster on top, and then he's able to get a nice smooth finish. But I love the way we've kept as many of the original features as we can, and when this is cleaned up, you'll see how he's rounded it to go around all the beams. He's rounded it around the lintels, around the light switches, and on this side, once this is cleaned up, you'll see the exposed stone and how he's rounded it around there. So it's looking really, really good. So fingers crossed, next time we give you an update, there should be plaster on the wall. Very, very exciting. Is there an ideal way for your pet to pass? Is it in your arms, or is it perhaps outside in the sunshine in its favorite spot? When the time comes for animals to pass, we all have this ideal scenario in our heads. We want them to die in our arms, perhaps lying on our bed, listening to their favorite music after having eaten their favorite food. But we all know it doesn't always happen like that. I was doing a Rainbow Bridge reading for a client recently, and she told me how her little dog had been fine all day and suddenly deteriorated in the evening, and she was rushed off to the vet, and they discovered her heart was failing, and the only thing that was keeping her alive was the little oxygen tent that she was in. My client was away on holiday at the time, and suddenly she was desperate to get her little dog home to be surrounded by all the familiar things. And she started making frantic plans to get the little dog transported across the country, complete in its oxygen tent. But then she had this realization, who was she actually doing that all for? She realized one crucial part of being an animal guardian. She realized that the most important thing was, in that moment, for her to be with her dog. The most important thing was for them to be together. It didn't matter where. So she stayed with her little dog, her lifetime companion, that little dog that had been with her through thick and thin, and that little dog died in her arms. So don't fret too much about making everything perfect for your animal when the time comes for them to pass. The most important gift you can give them, if it's possible, is simply to be with them in that moment. I'm going to go check on the onions and the potatoes. I thought you might like to join me. Oh my goodness, look at that. Aren't they looking great? Let's check on the other bed. Oops, tripped over there. Fabulous. Aren't they looking great? You've got to be careful. I can see none of these have been dug up, but often the birds dig up the little, oh, just like that one there. Let's just dig a hole, squeeze them in. Oops. There we go. Supervised. Right, let's go check on the potatoes. Oh, goodness. doing well. Stand here, you can see they're in rows. Fabulous. You are a big boy. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Whispers from the Countryside. If you've enjoyed this little slice of rural life, I'd love it if you liked, comment, or shared it with somebody that you know that you think might enjoy it. See you in the next one, and until then, may you find beauty in the small things, and may your days be filled with love, magic, and quiet wonders. Bye-bye. Welcome back. Remember, each episode has chapter photos of no 16 when we first no